Welcome to Rediscovering Your Passion and Purpose with Patty. I am your host, Patty Stulen, and I am the Chief Pathfinder of Pathways with Patty. Today, my guest is Lindsey Preece. She is a highly accomplished professional with a deep commitment to holistic healing and over 22 years of experience as a registered nurse. She runs a successful online physical health and mental wellness business, empowering individuals on their transformative journey towards well-being. Lindsey's expertise extends beyond the traditional medical model as she integrates the mind, body, and spirit in the healing process through her coaching program. With a profound understanding of the lasting effects of childhood trauma, Lindsey guides post-trauma survivors, providing solace, support, and renewed hope. As an author, international speaker, and dedicated mother of three, Lindsey is a trusted resource for individuals seeking to reclaim their lives and embark on a path of healing, self-discovery, and self-empowerment. Lindsey, it is a joy to have you here today. How are you doing?
I am great. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, spending this time with you.
Well, it is a pleasure having you here. And ever since you gave me a synopsis of your story, I knew right away that it was a story that I knew that my audience can connect with and will be inspired and motivated from. So with that said, please share with us your incredible story of rediscovering your passion and purpose.
Okay, so I'm going to take you back a few years. My story actually started when I was 12 years old. I'll give you a little bit of a background and you'll understand why I'm giving this to you when I share kind of the traumatic experience that happened in my life. But growing up, as I had an older sister, a younger brother, a mom and a dad, we were a close-knit family, church-going family. Felt like life was great. Lived in a community where we had a lot of support and we're a very well-known family, actually. And I felt as a 12-year-old girl like I had life by the horns.
Mhm.
I was very confident, happy, had hopes and dreams, and just was really, I just felt unstoppable. And which leads me, well, I need to tell you a little bit more about, I had a really quite a unique relationship with my dad. I absolutely loved him, spent a lot of time with him. He was just somebody I wanted to be like and wanted to be with all the time. And so when I was 12 years old, this was all growing up. And then at the age of 12, I was actually sexually abused by my dad.
Oh.
And yes, and I give you that background so that you know what that relationship looked like and so that you can kind of imagine what went on in a 12-year-old's mind
Mm-hmm.
after something like that happened. The betrayal, the fear, the
Yes.
anxiety, but yet I still loved him, but yet I hated him. I was afraid of him. I mean, my emotions, I had never felt something like that before. And it just really took me from a happy, confident young girl to someone who just spiraled, really spiraled and
It
struggled.
rocked your foundation. I mean, how could it not
Completely,
rock it?
completely. It did.
Wow.
And it was a detrimental time of my life where truly I did get to the point where I couldn't stop even control the emotions of crying on a daily basis. I didn't want to go to school. I truly just wished things would kind of just be done. And
Right.
that was a scary time, not for me, but for my mom. My mom was amazing, thank goodness. And she believed me right away and did what she knew was best, got me into therapy, got me into counseling. I hated it, but then found somebody and ended up loving it and relying on it.
Mm-hmm.
She then quickly took me to the doctor. I was put on prescription medications because that's all she knew to help numb that pain and help me to be able to keep living life. And that's
Right.
exactly what it did. It numbed the pain so that I could keep walking through life. But I kind of stuffed everything down and just continued living for
Mm-hmm.
quite a few years.
Mm-hmm. I think, especially as a kid, when you have been traumatized in that respect, especially by someone you admire, respect, and in some respect is your hero, um, I think you would do in order to, since you had, it sounds like, such high self-esteem before this incident happened, to be able to go through that kind of a trauma, you do have to stuff it down because you still want your old self to be out there almost pretending at that point, but you don't want anybody else to think that there's an issue or a problem. So yeah,
Yes.
stuffing it down is definitely something I would think you would do.
You know, that makes so much sense because I've had a lot of people, as I've started sharing my story, have said, oh my gosh, that I went to school with. I had no idea
Yeah. Yeah.
because I pretended. That's how I
Yes.
was able to keep living. I knew a lot of people knew, and
Mhm.
it was talked about, but I'm learning there were a lot of people that didn't know and had no idea that anything like that was happening or going on in my home.
Now, were your parents married at the time, or were
Yeah.
they, and
Yep.
did they continue to stay married after this incident?
What actually happened right after was mom believed me. Thank goodness. She knew something was happening. She wanted to work things out, but I fell apart.
Mhm.
I clearly remember the situation, but she just said, I have to do what is best for you right now. Rather, because dad was apologetic. Yes, I did it. Like, help me. I need help. It wasn't
Mhm.
like anyway. And so she was willing to work on things and until she saw my reaction and what it was doing to me. And she just said, okay, Lindsey's got to come first. And so dad was actually escorted out of the house by police and taken to jail and
Which
then
was another probably did you
horrible.
witness that?
Yes, it was absolutely horrible.
See, yes.
Yep, it was
And that stays
absolutely
with you
awful.
forever.
Yep. And even though I was angry with him and hated him so much and was fearful of him, I still loved him and he was still my dad. And
Right.
so to watch them take him away, I mean, it was just it's I don't understand bipolar, but I do understand it because I
Oh,
kind of lived it. I felt
right.
this extreme love and wanted to protect him, but this extreme fear and hate and fear just it was just two-sided feelings that I had.
Well, and I know that from past guests that they have been in abusive relationships with their life partner. They have described almost that same type of thing. That it's almost like you become two people because there's still a part of you that loves them, but there's also that other part that absolutely hates what they are doing or what they have
Yes.
done to you.
Yes.
That it's difficult to know what steps to take forward because you want to think about yourself, but yet you still love that person.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So you're going through therapy, you're counseling, you're on medication. Is there a point where you start to feel like you believe that you're getting your act together? Or because I mean, at 12 years old, you're into puberty and you're really starting to
Yep.
become a teenager, which
Yep.
by itself, without anything else going on, is a horrible time of your life. So how did you deal with all of that?
I really think I started to really just depend on counseling every week. I remember getting to where I finally found the therapist that I connected with and that I trusted and I felt like understood what I was saying when I was sharing my feelings and things. I craved that every week. I could not
Mhm.
wait for it to come. And then I would go sit on that couch and I would dump it all out. And then I felt refreshed and like, okay, I can do this another week. And then I'd get up and I
Mhm.
would walk through my life and live another week. And truly, I mean, I don't even remember how long that lasted, how long I went to therapy, but eventually I felt like I was okay. I still was very angry. I went through, had all the feelings and emotions, but I felt like I think I'm okay. And I stopped therapy, continued on prescription medication, and that's probably why I was okay.
Right. Oh, oh,
Was because I was
exactly.
numb.
Right.
Yeah, but it wasn't until I was a young mom that I started to really recognize, oh gosh, I'm a mess.
So before you got to that point though, did you because when you're an adolescent, teenagers, that's when you start, dating and that sort of thing. Because of this trauma that incurred and that it was a sexual abuse, did you find it difficult or scary or whatever you want to call it to create a relationship with another person?
What I have recognized and can absolutely see about those teenage years, I actually had a boyfriend for a very long time. And I believe that that was my replacement for my dad.
Okay.
That was, I was looking for love from a male figure of some sort, and he was my safety net. And although there were all kinds of signs that you two should not be together, like I clung to that relationship like I needed it, and it was my
Right.
lifeline. And he really, I talked to him about everything, and that's how I got through it. But I do believe that it was a replacement. It was my way of filling that void.
And I really think that all of us on some level, we always do that when I mean, it doesn't even have to be abuse, but when something traumatic happens in a relationship with somebody else, I think we do, unbeknownst to us, look for another relationship to replace that one,
Yep.
whatever that may be. So, so anyways, so it's not until you actually are married with your husband that you start to realize that you don't have your act completely together like you thought.
Right. And that's kind of when I think back and look back, there were signs all through my teenage years. I didn't really like different things about myself. I had a lot of issues with eating disorders and
Mhm.
self-comparisоnism and self-doubt and struggles that way, but I didn't really think, or it didn't really hit me that it was a big problem until I was married and I had three little girls. And it actually happened before I had the third girl, just as I
Mhm.
started having children. I I started really hating myself because of I was super irritable. I had a lot of anxiety and depression. I was little things that they would do, super innocent things, I would freak out about and then quickly would feel so much shame and guilt. Like, why am I acting like this?
Mhm.
And it's not their fault. And why am I'm just a terrible mom. And anyway, I just really beat myself up. And that was when it kind of all came to a head where I was like, something's wrong. And of course, my solution was go to the doctor. And I
Right.
kept getting put on prescription after prescription after prescription to help me, and
Yes.
wound up at the age of 37 on 7 prescription medications and all
Oh.
sorts of health issues, and thought
Wow.
really I didn't link it to the abuse. I truly had thought I had moved on from that.
Mhm.
I really just thought that man, I've got some bad genes, and and I'm on 7 prescription medications at this age, and that's kind of when it actually I wasn't the one that recognized it and kind of brought it to light. It was actually a friend that I met um, through. I then of course. Do you want to ask me any other questions? You want me to continue with the story? Sorry.
No, no, I mean, no, I'm enraptured in what you're saying. But I mean, what a godsend to have someone in your life that basically said, excuse me, Lindsay, but there's an issue here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for your friend, that was a very scary thing to do because you don't know if that's going to end that friendship
Yeah.
or whether it's going to, what's going to happen with it. So when she does approach you, I mean, are you upset with her? Are you okay? I mean,
Yeah.
or
So
what was that like?
I'll tell you kind of how this came about. Even though I was dealing with all this junk and this negativity, and I still, thank goodness, deep within me had a really great desire to just do something awesome, do something great, find my purpose. And I started into a network marketing company and was just determined. The products had changed my life, and I was determined to help people and
Hmm.
to build a large organization and to just crush it at this company. And it was in the process of trying to do that that I just kept hitting this wall of self-doubt, of shame, of I can't do this, I'm not worthy.
You were putting up your own
Comparison is,
blocks.
yeah. And I was so frustrated. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't break through. And it was
Hmm.
in one of those moments that she's actually a life coach, and I didn't know that, but it was a friend of mine and a mentor of mine, looked me in the eyes and said, Lindsay, I see deep pain in you. And I was like,
Mm.
what? No,
Mm.
no, 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 you don't. I had no idea. It was portrayed on the outside, what was going on inside. And she said,
Hmm.
you want to talk. And I was desperate in that moment. She caught me in a moment of desperation, and I just unloaded and told her everything that had happened. Then she said, okay, well, let's talk about your childhood. And anyway, she heard everything. And then she just said, do you recognize that everything you're struggling with right now in your life is due to suppressed trauma from your childhood?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no,
Right.
no, I've
I dealt
never
with
made
that.
that connection. And as she started to explain it to me and started to share and open up my mind to healing, how important it is to heal your body, mind, and spirit after something traumatic like that happens, or really anything in life. That's when I had an aha moment and made all the connection. And I was like, you're right. I have not
Mm,
dealt with this. I have stuffed it thinking that I can just move on with life and I'm fine and things are great. And that was why I just kept hitting. I was just filled with self-doubt and self-hate that was holding me back and keeping me small.
Now, one of the things I want to ask you, and hopefully I'm not jumping ahead in your story, but I know when we spoke last week, you had mentioned that you are a Christian, and so my question is, did were you a believer in Christ as a child, or was that something that happened to you as an adult? And the reason I ask that is because um, for some people, they might think that, oh, because your mother was so supportive of you as a child, that was just happenstance because she's your mother. And then here you have this friend who happens to be a life coach. She comes in and she intervenes and helps you as well. Where I mean, I know as a Christian, I know that that isn't just happenstance. I know that God places, I mean, because there's a lot of people, a lot of kids that go to their parent and say, this is what's happening, dad's doing this, and they'll say, oh, no, no, no. Several of my podcast guests, that was their situation. But right now, these two very important people in your life have made some wonderful things in your favor to help you. Was Christ a part of your story during this part of your life?
I love that. And I'm so thankful that you asked this question. It is a huge part of my story. And even if I back up clear till when the abuse happened, like I said, we were a church going family. My dad
Mm-hmm.
had a high leadership role at
Mm-hmm.
that time in my church. And so not only was it awful for the community, but the whole church, my whole church community, it was like, whoa, wait, what's happening in in your family, in your
Right.
life?
Right.
And at 12 years old, no, I didn't have a personal relationship with God at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say at all. I believed, but I believed because my parents did.
Exactly. Yes.
And I went to church every week and I was learning. However, I was just holding on to what I had been taught. And
Mm-hmm.
but because I had that basis, thank goodness, in desperation after this happened in the depths of my despair, I remember thinking to myself, I know I've been told God is real, but I got to figure this out.
Mm-hmm. What does
Is
that
he
mean?
real?
Yeah.
And really, does he really know what's happening right now? Does he care? Could he help me? Like I've been told all these things, but I've never had to figure it out for myself. And so
Mm-hmm.
quickly, I became an avid prayer and an avid scripture studier, and
Mm-hmm.
that which is another huge part of my story of transformation. That relationship, I truly believe, is what kept me moving forward and saved me
Wow.
in in this difficult time. It wasn't until I was older that, I mean, it forced me. It forced me to create a relationship with God and to find out if he was real.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until later on that I started to really examine, okay, does he care about what happened? Why didn't he stop it? Like I had these questions,
Right.
should I be angry at him? Could he have stopped this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why did he allow it to happen? All those questions that come up.
Yes.
And that just became that was the beginning of a beautiful journey as well. Really learning and figuring out who God was and who he was for me, and what part of this healing transformation he would have in my life.
So when you were talking about, doing this marketing journey and wanting to be able to help people, do you find that pretty much through your life that that is a common thread or common theme, that you were always someone that had a passion for helping other people?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's why I became a nurse as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
as a young girl, I sang in the nursing home with my grandparents. My grandpa was another leadership position in our church, and so I would go with him and sing. Had a huge love for the nursing home at like age 8 or 9, and just knew I wanted, there was hospital doors. I remember thinking and saying, I'm going to work, I'm going to be behind those doors someday. I just have always really loved helping people. Yeah, that was
Hmm.
always been a part of it.
Well, and I think in a sense, I think a lot of people that have had trauma in their life, they do find that there has been that common thread about wanting to help others. Because sometimes you feel like if I can't help myself, maybe I can help others, and then that will end up helping me. But I mean, you even took it for a step further, becoming a nurse. I mean, for me, I think that's one of the ultimate incredible jobs that just does not get enough credit.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy job, but it's a beautiful job. And it
Hmm.
is only for certain people too. That
Oh,
is true.
yeah, exactly. Um, so by the time your friend, kind of says, you don't need to be on all this medication. We're going to deal with this stuff. Did you find at that point that maybe you didn't know what your passion and purpose was, or did you feel like you had lost it, or you still knew what your passion and purpose was, but you were just using medications and other stuff to to pursue it?
I think my passion and purpose has been it's come, it's changed, it's evolved. And
Mm-hmm.
because then it was being a nurse and
Mm-hmm.
helping people. And then it was network marketing and really helping people with their health on a natural level because it had changed I was able to get off prescription medications and it helped so that shifted to where, oh my gosh, I've got to help people realize that fueling their body correctly can really make a difference where as far
Mm-hmm.
as prescription medications come.
Right.
And then it just continued to evolve until I started on a healing journey with Kim, and I was shocked at the shifts I was feeling within myself within 2 and 3 days implementing the things she was sharing with me. And beforehand, I had only ever done talk therapy and prescription medication. That's all I ever believed in. I'll be honest with you, I was very prideful.
Mm-hmm.
That was my lane. That was where I was. That's all I
Mm-hmm.
was willing to do. And when she opened up a whole new world of holistic healing and body, mind, spirit, because
Mm-hmm.
I was in such desperation, I listened. Otherwise, I wouldn't have.
Right.
I'm so grateful because that is when I had already had a health transformation from the nutritional products. So that had helped me to have an open mind. But then the things she started to talk to me about, like your thoughts, your negative thoughts versus positive thoughts, the
Mm-hmm.
truth versus lies, how these negative thoughts are from Satan and are going to hold you back and keep you small. And I mean, just all this stuff that I had never heard before, but made so much sense. I was like,
Talk about aha moments, huh?
yes, I have
Golden
really
nuggets.
been missing a lot in my
Yes.
life because I had been so stuck in my ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, that opened up a whole new world to me. And that transformational journey was all pretty much, it was very different. It wasn't medication, it wasn't talk therapy, it was tactics. It was learning how to process and accept and acknowledge and release that. And then it was moving through the stages. And then it was different exercises to get it all out. I mean, it was just very different. And the shifts that happened, like I said, were just so the feelings and the shifts that were taking place were so dramatic that I just clung to it. And I
Mm-hmm.
just kept going. I just kept going and kept going. And very quickly, it was, I don't know, a few months later, after she had seen such a shift in who I was now portraying, right? Because before it
Mm-hmm.
was so different. And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
you're a totally different person. And I said, I am on the outside and the inside. And she said, will you please come on to my happy health challenge and share your story? And this is kind of when things started to shift. I hopped on that, and it was a whole group of women that were just there to learn about happiness, being happier, not
Mm-hmm.
trauma, anything. And I shared my story of trauma and transformation, and the response was mind blowing. Oh my gosh, tell me what you did. What else did you do? And how did you do this? And this is me. This is my situation. I need help. Tell me what you did to move forward. Like just all of these things where that was another aha moment where I went, oh my gosh, people need to hear my story. Not
Yes.
just my story, but what I did, what
Mm-hmm.
finally brought me real, true transformation. And Anyway, things just continued to spiral from there. I started to feel very strongly about writing a book and sharing my story, which is the next thing I did.
Mhm.
Um, kind of reluctantly, but I did it. And so I could check it off the list and continued building my network marketing business and kept hearing whispers and thoughts of, you need to share your story. You need to share your story. And it was about a year ago that I finally gave in. And I said,
Mhm.
okay, God, it's your turn. I said, I'm ready. What do you want me to do? And that's when coaching came into play. And he very kindly said to me, your book is your blueprint. That part of it's done. Move forward in creating a coaching program to help women through trauma and to help them to come out on the other side and really find out who they are and what their purpose is. And that's where that all began.
And really, up to that point, you start realizing that everything that was building up, he was laying that
Right.
foundation to
Yep.
have you ready for that message,
Yep.
to accept it, to internalize it, and then know, yep, I hear you, I'm open to it, and I'm ready.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's been such a transformation to see really what God can do in my life versus what I want to do when I have control, that I just have truthfully, my word for January 1st was surrender.
Oh,
And
that's
and
good.
that is just that's what I have focused on this year is just back off, let go of control and let God take the wheel and follow. And it's been a beautiful process.
I might have to steal that word for my word of intention for
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah.
I love that word because uh I God gets such a good laugh at me all the time, and I've shared this before that I want to believe that I'm in control, and just laughs at me and he's going, Patty, you keep forgetting I'm the one in control here. You just need to back off. And as soon as I do that, it is incredible the things that happen, which and many of the listeners out there, that as well, whatever your higher power may be. But so that brings me up to the point that I'm sure that during your journey and you moving from one stage to another, did you have people who were your critics, or as I say, the people that yucked your wow when you said, "Oh, I'm going to write a book," or "Oh, I'm going to start this business," or "Oh, I'm going to do this," and they say, "Well, why in the world would you want to do that?" I call it yucking your wow.
Yeah.
So I see you nodding your head, so I know that that's happened. So when that has happened, or when it continues to happen, what do you do? How do you respond to those people when they yuck your wow?
So really, to be honest with you, at this point in my life, I had surrounded by myself by so many amazing people that were also trying to fulfill their purpose, that they all truthfully believed in me more than I did.
Mm-hmm.
That was what really pushed me forward into writing the book, into continuing with not giving up with building a network marketing company, with then pursuing um, a coaching business. I had so much support of, yes, I can see that this is exactly what you need to do and should be doing. I can't say that I've had a whole lot of negativity, a whole
Good.
lot I mean, maybe for myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those
Mm-hmm.
thoughts that come in, oh
Well,
no,
we tend to be our greatest critic, don't we?
but there hasn't really been, I mean, even my dad, for instance, I have a great relationship with him today, and I have shared all of this with him. Like, Dad, are you okay with me sharing this? There are so many
Mm-hmm.
women that need this. And he has been so amazing to just say, yeah, if you feel like you need to help people with this,
Mm-hmm.
help them.
Wow,
So
what a
I've been
blessing.
very blessed. I've been very
Yes.
blessed, and I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure I'm going to hear it all. But so far it's been quite positive.
Wow. I know with myself, I mean, every so often, I think it depends on emotionally where I'm at, but I think that I don't buy into what people are saying about what I know is best for me,
Yeah.
unless they are a true confidant that I have built such an amazing relationship with, that I know that they would not say something to me unless they were truly concerned
Yeah.
about my safety and welfare. But for the most part, I mean, I think that's wonderful to know. They may be saying it, but that's not part of your filter.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it is there, maybe it's out there, but
Good for you.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I hope I don't hear it or see it. I know it's inevitable, but
So right now, then you are doing kind of like life coaching with people. Is that
yeah.
correct?
Yep.
And so when you work with them, why don't you tell our audience, share with them some of the things that you can do when a client or a possible potential client comes to you? What is it that the services you provide?
Okay, so today I actually finished, I do this quite frequently, a free 3-day challenge that actually introduces people to, gives them a taste of my coaching program. And but my coaching program in itself has evolved as I have worked with different women. And really what it is it's to help. We don't really, I like to work with people who are ready to move forward, not who
Yes,
are still in the middle of it and really struggling and want to just talk about it.
right.
I love to work with women who are like, I am sick and dang tired. I know there's something holding me back.
Hmm.
Help me move through it, process it, work through it, put it behind me so that I can step into my purpose and my power.
Yes.
And so the program is very focused in a specific order on really what I found is that self-love and that creating self-love and self-confidence is so important to start with,
Hmm.
because you've got to be able to support yourself throughout the remainder of the journey. If you
Hmm.
don't have that, I mean, that doesn't mean you have to have self-confidence from the beginning, but if you don't recognize what's going on in here, you're not going to be able to move forward. You're going to be stuck. So I
Yes.
start there. The second place I start is God, is creating a relationship with God and inviting him in so that you have two very big support systems, yourself and God, to
Hmm.
then help you move forward through the hard parts, through the
Yeah.
processing, the acknowledging, the working it out and releasing it, and then healing your nervous system and how trauma is stored there, and the different things that we can do to actually heal that nervous system and change those triggers and change those awful reactions. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of different things: the anger, the hate, the depression, the anxiety, and just learning different ways of being able to really shift
Hmm.
where you're at to where you want to be, or maybe you even think there's no way I'll ever get there.
Hmm.
And so the program is really just to help people recognize that life doesn't have to continue the way that it is,
Hmm.
give them hope, and then
Yep.
to support them the whole step of the way. I'm a very step-by-step simplistic coach. I like very simple things, yet I understand the power of consistency. So I talk
Hmm.
about that a lot. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, but that simple steps that are very consistent is where you're going to see change, big changes over time. And then just working through all of that. There's 9 different sessions. I could explain it all to you if you
Hmm.
wanted, but I've got all that information on the link that you'll
Yeah.
share.
Well,
And
well, Lindsay, the thing that I think is wonderful for the audience that's listening or you're watching on YouTube right now, the thing that I think is amazing, and you've said this several times, and it is something that so many of us, because of, it doesn't matter how big or small you may think the trauma was when you were
yes,
growing up, but sometimes we think, oh, I'm an adult now, that's in the past,
yep,
that's all back there, so what I'm dealing with now must have something to do with me now.
yes,
I think it's one of the things that I've heard you say several times now is that it's those traumas, no matter how big or small you may think when you were younger, it carries through with you, and if you
yep.
don't take care of dealing with that, you stuff it, it's still coming out somehow. and
One of, yeah,
and through your coaching, I think that is a wonderful thing, is that that's what you're looking at. You're wanting people that know there's an issue here. I know I don't want to stay here. I want to move forward. And I believe with your help, I can figure out what's keeping me stuck so I can move forward.
yep,
And you know what that's like. You've been there, you've done it, you've done the work, and you're showing what's possible when you deal with that trauma.
right. One of my most successful posts in finding women who need what I offer is actually sharing symptoms that you have, that you are suppressing old traumas, or
Mm.
and listing those symptoms. I've had multiple women say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think that I was dealing with that my issues now were from trauma in the past. And that post, I have almost every single one of those. So this just, thank you. This helped me recognize, like
Mhm.
me, I had never correlated that.
Yeah.
And so knowing that was such a relief, because now I had something I could do, where before I was just like, what is happening? I had no idea. But now I had a way
Take
to,
another
oh,
pill.
yeah, yeah. I had a way to now know that I could fix it if I would move forward in it. And then I just had to
Mhm.
find someone to help me know how to do it.
Right. No, exactly. Well, so now where you are, I would like to ask you, what is it right now in this moment of time? What are you passionate about personally and professionally?
Oh, goodness. I am passionate about, there's just so many women that are just wallowing and are just feel like, I just got to get through life. And I've been there. And I am
Mhm.
passionate about first helping women recognize that that doesn't have to be the way their life has to continue,
Mhm.
that there is help, that there is a whole new life that they can find and enjoy, not just the transformation of letting the trauma go and overcome it. And what I mean when I say overcome is just get to a point where it's not something that rules your life or bothers you on a daily basis. It's something
Right.
that you go, oh yeah, that happened to me at one time. And then you start to look at it as, that was actually, I can see how that was for me. That didn't happen to me. That
Right.
actually happened for me. And then to
I
be
like
able
that saying,
to,
by the way.
yeah,
That's
and
good.
then to be able to open, I mean, once you're able to put that aside, it's like this whole new world opens up to possibilities that I
Mhm.
could never even think about before, because I was so entrenched with all of this.
Mhm.
That now, once it was gone, I was like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. And then I was able to identify and figure out my purpose and
Mhm.
then move forward in that. I had all the energy now focused on something so good and beautiful, instead of the opposite that I thought I was going to be in for the rest of my life. So I'm super passionate about helping women to turn that corner and to see that, man, they have a purpose
Mhm.
and they can absolutely reach for the stars and do anything they want to do once they can get this junk out of them.
Exactly. So we know that that's your passion. So what would you say that personally and professionally is your purpose at this stage in your life?
um Helping women through it, helping them, giving them the steps.
Hmm.
I love being told and hearing awesome stories, but if someone doesn't tell me how they got there and give me specific steps, I'll never get there. And I
Right.
recognize that in a lot of different trainings I had gone to. And so I decided what I was going to do very differently was I was going to be very vulnerable and open and share the pain and the heartache and the hard, but also to share the good and to give women individually how to apply these tactics in their specific circumstance to help them get the same results that I had found.
Hmm. Wow. That is a wonderful purpose indeed. And so now we've heard your passion and purpose of where you are right now. What would you say is your superpower?
I would say my superpower, and it's really not my superpower, but it's my faith in God. That was a gift I was given,
Hmm.
and that has become a superpower. There have been actually times in my life where I have felt guilty for having the gift of faith, because I've never wavered from believing God was real. And
Hmm.
because I had that superpower and that gift, I was able to get through a lot of really tough things. And really, I guess now my superpower is sharing that superpower with other women and helping
Hmm.
them to recognize that God can make all the difference.
Hmm.
He can absolutely make all the difference if we just know how. And that's another part of my program where I mean, you might, you read things that this is for dumb people, whatever. This is simplified. I go very simple in helping people to figure out how to talk to God, how to invite him in, how to develop that
It
relationship. Because
doesn't have to be complicated.
no, and to just help them figure out that it's not a complicated process, that it's actually
Hmm.
very simple, but to
Hmm.
just help them to take baby steps towards doing that so that they can have that relationship with him and all of the beautiful benefits that come with that.
Well, one of the things that I do is I talk about people living their best dash. Are they daring to achieve a successful and happy life? And that dash being the dash that sits between your date of birth and date of death. That
Ah,
people will look at one day. That dash represents your life and times here on earth. So Lindsey, knowing that someday, I mean, we all are going to have that dash and people are going to see your dash someday. How would you say that you are living your best dash?
well, what I've wanted, what I've always thought to myself when I die, what I hope people say about me is that she really loved and cared about people, that that was number one to her, that it wasn't money, it wasn't fame, and I've struggled with that. That's a human
Mhm.
thing, but that her real purpose and passion and what she really did was care about people and helping people. And so what do you ask me how I'm
So how are
living?
you living your best dash? And you really did just explain that. And the thing is, whether you are listening to this podcast episode or you're watching it, especially if you're watching it, you can see Lindsey's face and her expressions during this recording. And she really is passionate about people and wanting them, not only for her to be her best self, but she wants other people, especially you women out there, of you becoming your best self also. So you're being an example. Your dash is an example to others, Lindsey, of what you want for them as well, because you are living your best dash. You did not let that trauma that you could have very easily used as an excuse for the remainder of your life to either be a drug addict or an abuser yourself in some respect, or any of the other things, and you did not do that. So I would say that yes, you have not only been living your best dash, but now you, through your coaching, you are also helping others to reconnect with their dash so that they know that it's never too late to create a legacy that they can be proud of.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I
Good
love
for
that.
you. Good for you.
Thank
Um,
you.
are there any final thoughts or words of wisdom that well, you know what, while I'm saying that, are there any words of wisdom that someone gave you that has just really stayed with you and maybe has become part of your foundation? Any words of advice that just really, wow.
The first thing that comes to my mind, and it was because for so long I had zero self-belief,
Mm.
zero self. I hid it very well, but really internally, I was a big time self-hater.
Oh.
And hearing for the first time where those thoughts were coming from, and then also hearing that I could do anything I put my mind to. I've always by myself added with God's help
Mhm.
that I know that I can do anything. And my best advice moving forward is to just surrender. I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm 44 and I've lived most of my life being in control and doing my own thing
Mhm.
and just letting God take control of certain things. But it's been in the last year when I've really allowed him to take over, where I've seen, not just seen, but felt the peace and the happiness and the joy that comes from um, fulfilling God's purpose for me instead of fulfilling Lindsey's purpose for me,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because they can be
Yes.
very different.
Yes.
Eventually, hopefully, they come together, but it has finally come together, and it just feels good.
Good. Are there any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the audience?
If you are in a place of, I mean, if you're struggling, period, you don't have to stay there. You might not want to, but you may not believe that, but just come and have a conversation with me. I would love to sit down with you and just fill you up like I was filled up. It's my turn to now bless so many others and to encourage them like I was given that gift. And so there's absolutely, no matter who you are, where you are, what you've been through, what situation you're in, there is no reason that you can't absolutely have a beautiful future through some specific steps, but I can
Mhm.
help you with that. And that is completely possible.
Wonderful. I know there's several people out there listening and watching right now, Lindsey, that would love to get in touch with you and ask you some questions and maybe try out your 3-day trial program, like you said. How can they do that? Let everybody know.
So hopefully everybody's on Facebook. I did have an Instagram account that's been hacked a couple of times, and I figured that was a sign. No more Instagram. So I am on Facebook, and I have a private. I'm Lindsey Preece is my page, but my private Facebook page is Christian Women Transforming Pain into Purpose, Body, Mind, Spirit with Him. If you just start searching Christian Women and
Mhm.
Transforming Pain into Purpose, you will find me. Join that group. You have an opportunity to sign up for a free 3-day challenge, or not a challenge, a free 3-day workshop and training. And if you just want to reach out as well, Lindsey Preece, you can notify me on Messenger, or we can post my email. I don't know, whatever is easiest for you. What do you think?
Well, first of all, know that all of the things that Lindsey's just told you, and maybe even more, if you didn't get all of that stuff, if you have been an avid listener, you know, if you go back into the description, whether you're listening or you're watching on YouTube, the description for this episode, at the bottom of it are all the contact information for Lindsey and how you can connect with her on Facebook, whether through her group or privately. And I also want to brag about you, Lindsey, because uh, from start to finish, from the moment you first reached out to me to us doing this interview today, I'd say it's been less than 2 weeks. And why is that? Because you are prompt, you are on the ball, and you are organized. And that's why this interview went from you just reaching out to me to us actually recording it. So those of you out there, if I know just from this and the other people that I have either tried to work with or whatever, that is a telltale sign to me about how good Lindsey is as far as getting back in touch with you and connecting with you if you would like to work with her. And I think through this conversation, you can see that she has rediscovered her passion and purpose, and she wants to help you to be able to do the same thing. So please reach out to her and give her a shot, because I feel very joyful just sitting on the other side of the screen, and I know you will feel the same way of getting to meet with Lindsey and talk with her. So, Lindsey, once again, thank you very much for being my guest today. It has been an absolute delight and a true blessing.
Oh, thank you. It has been wonderful. I thank you for just bringing me right in and being so willing to do this. And this helps me too. And thank you so much for our time together.
Thank you. And for you, all of you listeners out there, remember to subscribe and follow this podcast. And while you're at it, go ahead and invite your family and friends to also subscribe as well. And if you wouldn't mind, hitting that 5-star rating button, that would be absolutely wonderful. Don't forget, you can also get in touch with me by going to www.pathwayswithpatty.org, and you can sign up for a Zoom chat with me, or you can get my Pathway to a New Beginning roadmap. And if you or someone else that you know that might be a wonderful guest on the show, also reach out to me and connect, because I would love to be able to share your story just like we've shared Lindsey's story today. So until we meet again, continue to live your best dash and know that life's an adventure, and I want you to enjoy the journey, because your life matters. Thank you for joining us today, and may God bless you all.